flowing through our veins. Sitting in the bleachers in the rain. We've shed a million tears and drank as many old style beers out at the game. Let's go coffee, Son Ranto.
With Michael.
Son Ranto.
And Crawly.
Son Ranto and the lovable loser. Son Ranto.
With Michael.
Son Ranto.
And Crawly.
Son Ranto and the lovable losers. Son Ranto.
That was quite spirited, Michael. You obviously do not have COVID-19 because your lungs sound wonderful.
I actually, the other 6 days of the week, I do that like 10 times a day just so I'm fucking top of my game for this night to just throw it in there. I had one less day of practice this week.
Taking online voice lessons. Me, son, rain, toe.
Me.
So welcome to the Son Ranto Show. My name's Danny Rocket. That, of course, was Michael Cotton screaming in your ears. And Crawly Cubs is down in his Crawly Cub. What are you going to call that place? Is it just the clubhouse or what?
Crawly's clubhouse.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That works because you've already made it up a long time ago.
Well, but like if he quit using that right now, like he finally gets this thing, he's like, you know what, clubhouse doesn't work for me anymore.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
I'm like calling it Paul's Pad. This show, of course, is brought to you by our 104 Patreon supporters. Thank you very much for being a Patreon member. Those are the people that support us here at the Son Ranto Show. It's patreon.com/sonranto if you want to become a part of it. There are perks at every level and more to come.
Damn it, I just spilled beer on my pants.
Yeah, Robert Sanchez heard that going to the thing, and then now he's all wet.
Damn it.
Yeah, Robert Sanchez said, I hear a beer crack. And Crawly's crack says, I feel beer in my crack. So what do you got there? A Club 400 going down your pants right now?
Yeah, the Club 400, a beer for all 9 innings and good for your cracks.
Fill your cracks.
Fill your cracks with Club 400.
Little sticky for lube, but what are you going to do? So I wanted to say we had so much fun last week with the new StreamYard giveaway tool, which is how we broadcast the show. And Artie Boucher won the Chance for a Chance, which is a postcard. And I got a new one this week. Look at this Frank Chance postcard. He's like, is there batting? I don't even know where that is. It looks like they're on the road. I don't know if they had home and road uniforms back then. I really don't know. But there's Frank Chance on a postcard. And you can see the back of this postcard is blank. And here's what's going to happen. If you type into the chat right now, that's on Twitter, it's on Facebook, that's on YouTube, just #Chance. You will be then automatically entered to win me writing you a postcard on this Frank Chance. Unless you don't want me to write on it, I'll give it to you because you want to collect it or something. But normally I'll just write you a nice message like I wrote to Artie last week, telling him how glad I was that he won and nobody else won. So Chance just so comment in. There we go. Jeff Berta just did it. I'll put it up here. Chance. Dominic's got Chance. Jeff Berta's got Chance. #Chance. I don't know if you have to put a hashtag or not. I'm not.
It's
not sure.
It's just so easy. Why would
I would put the
Chance
hashtag
on Chance?
Yeah, put the #Chance. No exclamation
That's
point.
Jonathan Mole. Make sure you put the hashtag.
Yeah. Jonathan Mole, put the hashtag. You got Chance with an exclamation point, which I appreciate the enthusiasm. I certainly do. But just put Chance with a hashtag and you have a better chance to actually win. Chance for a Chance will remind you later and you get a postcard from me. At
least you didn't put #dry pants.
Well, that's next week. Actually, we can have people say whatever we want them to say. It's too late now for this one.
So we could do pants for pants.
We could do pants for Clark. We could give all sorts of crap away, and we can make people tweet out terrible hashtags. We could make them tweet out crypto. So every crypto bro on freaking
Don't
Twitter.
even start with that shit.
God.
All right. I do you want to
text at fucking work about that weird ass shit? I still don't get it, and I care not to. I intentionally irritated about it.
It's a way to get money from people that's not real money. What don't you understand?
Yeah, for people wondering what we're talking about, Danny and I had a nice long conversation because neither one of us have actual real jobs during the day. Crawly's at work, and his phone, and he told us he got very excited because his phone kept buzzing his balls because we just kept texting on this thread, knowing that Crawly can't actually join in.
Showing off our new NFTs. David Elliott writes in hashtag pants for Chance. Hey, maybe next week I'll find a pantsless photo of Frank Chance. Or any guy named Chance. It doesn't matter. Pantsless Chance. I'm sure it'll come up on my Google
Chance
search.
the Rapper?
Yeah, Chance. I'm sure
there you go.
Pantsless. Yeah.
Oh, did you guys see that rapper having sex at the hockey game last night?
No.
It was all over Twitter. Somebody filmed it, and from across the stadium, he was in a like a box, and it was obvious, like you could see what was going on. It was crazy. So a pantsless rapper. Sorry, that took me off on a.
Did he
tangent.
get penalized for high sticking? Hey now.
Oh, we can do this all night, folks.
Yeah.
So it was more of a hip check.
So you can't get pregnant from that, so that's good. Jon Lester retired, so we thought we would spend a little bit of time today talking about Jon Lester and how much he meant to us and how much he meant to the Cubs, maybe sharing some of our favorite stories, our favorite plays, our favorite Jon Lester moments. We want to hear about him in the chat too if you think of anything that you want to talk about with Jon Lester. But I don't know who wants to start. I guess I'll start because I'm already talking. But for me, one of the best moments, because we all know about Jon Lester and the yips, and he couldn't throw. He couldn't throw to first base, and he couldn't do it. He had to bounce. He was doing the bounce pass for a while to Rizzo. He was doing all this stuff.
You wrote a song about it.
I do bounce pass, and I also did. Lester always flips it underhand, which I'm going to play it at the end of the show. But I figured as long as we're going to copyright infringe, we should just go all the way through, and I'm going to show you the play where Jon Lester picks off the Cardinals' Tommy Pham. I was at this baseball game. Pham's dancing off of first base. You'll see here. Check it out. We're going to play it. Because, I'm going to preface this. This is the Cardinals broadcast, which is the way to listen, which is the way to watch this play. Okay? I'll just preface that.
He's almost a third of the way to second base. I think every guy should do this.
There's no question about it.
Whether you have speed or not.
Absolutely.
Now that you heard that,
That's
you
an
know what's about to
unbelievable
happen,
lead
right?
that he has. See, if he throws over where Tommy Pham is, he just takes off the second base.
Lester just faked him back.
They're so confident that he could just walk the second, no
step
problem.
off and hold the ball. He's not going to throw to first base.
He's not gonna throw.
And
he throws. And he's out.
That's all right.
listen to that crowd.
He's out by
Jon Lester
10
looks into the
feet.
dugout. Oh man, then he looks into the dugout and just like gives him, and he doesn't glare like do one of those like Mrs. Garrett, the Amir Garrett glare where he's like obviously trying to fight. Jon Lester just looks over. He's like, "Oh, you didn't think I could, did you?"
Yeah, what do you think?
I love that, and in your face, Tim McCarver. So that's probably one of my favorite Jon Lester plays of all time. I know that's not what he added to the Cubs organization. Obviously, when they signed him, that was when you knew they were serious.
But that's what's fun about baseball. Like, yeah, he struck lots of people out. He won lots of games for the Cubs. He did lots of things, but that was what we always expected him to do. But he also provided us with these moments of joy because you didn't expect it out of him.
You think about that really being the beginning of the start of the run. You had all this stuff built up there, but it really was the start of the run. And I remember that, Boston tried lowballing him, and he was pissed about it. Went to Oakland, was traded to Oakland, and Boston thought they would walk in and just re-sign him again. And Theo and Jed, who had scouted and signed young Lester and all that, gave him a pitch, and that pitch was basically you on the mound, Game 7, Cubs win the World Series.
Yeah, they made like a hype video, sort of like that, right?
Right.
Like you remember that, like MLB The Show or some video game
commercial.
The commercial before like this 2015. I would get almost teary-eyed watching a fake commercial about what it might be.
Full on cried at that video. Before
and they did that.
Won.
Yeah, they did that for Jon Lester. And they also gave him like a camouflage Cubs hat or some shit. Like there was something to do with hunting that like he talked about it one time. Like that really got me.
Well,
they knew me.
And then to bring over David Rossi, and then you as well, who's now the Cubs manager, to get that like kind of veteran know-how on the team. Jon Lester had pitched in a lot of big games. I mean, and he was Theo's guy from before. So, and then
Theo was not the one that lowballed him.
Yeah, and there was a connection between him and Rizzo as well, having them both having had cancer in the past. Plus, like
they both had cancer, and Rizzo was younger at the time in the Cubs organization, and they thought it'd be a great idea for Lester to kind of, Rizzo was diagnosed. He was a member of the Red Sox, and Jon was already, big name for the Red Sox, and so they had a meet, and Rizzo fainted that day. Is a famous story about that.
And, to me, it's like you get somebody with that kind of prowess who's already been through the ringer like that. And we just all kind of knew that. And right away, I wrote that song Lesterday, which was like my first big Cubs hit, which I'll also play at the end of the show. And just remember that feeling of when we got him in that offseason that, Cub fans, and I haven't felt this way maybe since then, where you really felt like they were building something to win, that you could believe what the Ricketts at the time were telling us, that they were going to build a championship team, somebody that was going to have an open window for a long time. Just be patient with them. They're going to do the nice neighbor thing. They're going to be they're going to redo Wrigley. And, Jon Lester was just really the first thing on that. So what do you guys have as one of your favorite moments? I think I know what Michael's is.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michael.
Okay.
Should I play it? Because we're doing all the.
Yeah. Go ahead and play it. And then I'll go through this a little bit because, and I've already seen it in the chat. We got Roberto Ramos. Tim DeHate says he was at this game. I was at this game. And it was the Jon Lester.
Well, unfortunately,
Jason Hayward.
Unfortunately, there's a problem with the file. So let's go to a different one. How about this one? This is also having to do with first base. No, sorry, wrong video.
Snagged by Lester, and he'll throw the glove.
And Rizzo drops his glove.
The highest paid player in Cubs
history.
Smartest
play in the history of baseball.
He can't afford a glove that won't rip on a grounder back there.
With the tip of the cap, at some point along the way, Lester probably saw that video, Terry Mulholland making that play.
For the podcast listeners, what we just
how
watched
about Rizzo dropping his glove?
Padres comebacker. He catches it with his glove, but the ball lodges in the mitt, and he has to throw the entire glove to Rizzo to get the out. That's what we just watched.
And here now I've got this kind of geared up on YouTube here. This is the walk-off bunt against the Mariners by Jon Lester, and I'll just can you see that right there?
Yep.
Yeah.
2-2. He gets the bunt down. Runner coming home. Cubs win.
Jason Hayward scores.
With 2 strikes on him.
Yes. Oh, and then they go and they rip his shirt off and they throw the baby powder on him, all this stuff.
And that game was started by somebody weird. Who started that game?
Oh, so I have that up. Brian Mattis.
Yeah,
Brian Mattis. Or Matus or whatever the fuck. Yeah.
So Brian Mattis gives up 3 separate innings. The first, the second, and the third inning. He gives up a 2-run homer in each one of those innings until they finally get him out of there. He's going up against King Felix Hernandez. And this is actually 1 day after the original John Baker Day.
Yeah, it was So it was actually the 30th of July.
Well, 31st. So it's 2 days after John Baker Day. And I got to go to the game because I can't remember. Maybe you can remember this, Danny. I can't remember the guys' names. somebody offered you a ticket to go to this game, and by Sunday night,
I was leaving. I was going on tour with the band.
And so I went instead. So this poor sap got me instead of you in the first place. And then another guy, John, maybe something, had an even better ticket. But we had already told this other guy I was going. So I was like, okay. So I go and I hang out with this dude and his wife and his friend, and it's fun. And we're up the third base line a little bit. And I'm like, I got to go over and talk to this other guy. I go over there. He's like behind home plate.
So
and
that's
I'm like,
where you
I
saw
got
it from.
Yeah. So I was like, I got to hang out over here. And ultimately I hang out with him watching the game. And this game is insane. Right. And I keep kind of going
big comeback because they came back. There was 6-0, and then they won. What was the final on it? 7-6.
Yeah, because in the ninth they scored 3 runs in the ninth. The tying run was Addison Russell on a wild pitch. Addison Russell's on third, wild pitch. He comes in, scores the tying run. So that's nuts. But this is also the game that Wood comes in. Travis Wood comes in in the I believe in the 6th inning. I got it up here in a second. But so yeah, he comes in the top of the 6th. He faces 4 batters. He returns in the 7th, but not to pitch. He's in left field, and Pedro Strop is pitching. And Chris Coughlin's now out of the game. So you got Travis Wood in left field. You got Pedro Strop pitching. And Woody actually makes a catch.
Makes that catch. Is that
in
the one
vines.
that's the one where it looks like Han Solo frozen in the ivy. Or like, when Han Solo gets frozen in the second Star Wars, and it literally looks the exact same.
And man. And you see him running back, and he's like, oh my God, I don't know what's about to happen. But he makes the catch. And then he plays that, and then in the 8th, he returns to finish out the inning as a pitcher.
Yeah, well, that was why he was in left, because that was the point. Like, get the lefty in there. That was brilliant move, and that's something that I really miss when there's a DH.
Yeah, but they let Strop actually pitch to 3 guys. But then once they got in, a lefty to come in, then whatever their matchup that they wanted.
Question.
So he faced the 4th guy in the inning.
Question, and I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this. So you got the 3-batter minimum rule. Does the guy have to be pitching the whole time, or does he just have to be in for 3 batters? Like, could you do that again and throw Travis Wood out in left field and just have him in for 3 batters, just not pitching?
I think as long as they're in the game, I don't think you have to pitch for 3.
Yeah.
Well, but I think in this situation it would have counted because Pedro Strop did see 3 batters.
Yeah, but it was just
then they would have been able to bring him in, and there wouldn't have been an argument at all. But that was insane, right? That was just crazy. And then of course that 9th inning.
But Wood might not have been able to come back because he probably only faced 1 guy and then went to left field and then came back and
No, he faced 4. So he had already faced 4.
See, there's Madden screwing with the bullpen again. Jesus Christ.
And actually, so Wood plays left field the entire 7th. So Pedro Strop pitched 4 to 4 in the 7th, 3 more in the 8th. So he actually faced 7 batters before Wood came back in to pitch to get him out of the 8th inning.
So the funny thing
Wood was out there for basically 2 innings.
Wood came in the 6th and the 8th. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't.
He
really
came
realize
in the 6th, and then and faced 4 guys, and then faced 1 guy in the 8th. The entire 7th inning, he was in left field.
What a game.
The funny thing is you guys know I love to collect stuff, and I have 24 out of 25 World Series roster guys sign a World Series baseball. Some people think that's extreme. There are guys that literally go out and get every Cubs player that played 1 inning, even a third of an inning from that season. So they are literally like scrambling around trying to find a Brian Mateus autograph 2016 World Series baseball.
Shouldn't be that hard. You just go down to the Burger King and get the value mail.
You send him an email and he will fly to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, these guys really want this, and I'm like, why in the fuck would I want a Brian? I mean, I know he played, but it wasn't like it was anything that spectacular.
No, it obviously wasn't. He gave up home runs all day and almost lost the game.
But to me, it all came to a culmination. There's two games that stick out in my head more than anything. It was game one of the NLDS in 2016. Johnny Cueto versus Jon Lester, and they were like prize fighters, just a pitcher's duel, wind blowing in. And all it was Cueto made one mistake on one of those quick pitches he likes to do where he just throws it quick, and Javi was ready, and he hit it a fucking shit ton. Should have been going down Kenmore, and the wind blew it into the basket barely.
And that was the loudest that place had been maybe ever up to that point. Like, that was ridiculous.
Well, the Cardinals series was real loud.
Cardinals series was loud, super loud. Yeah.
And
2003 Kerry Wood Game 7 home run is considered by many the loudest it's ever been.
Well, and it's probably the juxtaposition between almost no sound because it was this pitcher's duel and it was so tense.
Tight,
and then so it's probably that, like, just the explosion. Because you're right. There were some other amazing loud games like that. But
you're right, Crawly. Though that performance that I was at that game, that was the game.
Game one.
Game one. Yeah.
Game one of the NLDS.
Yeah. Game one. And man, oh man. I mean, that was just such a nail biter. Like
somebody was going to make a mistake. Somebody was going to pay for it.
But it took somebody like Jon Lester to get through that. Like, that's the guy we needed. Like, I know that Hendricks wasn't Hendricks yet then, even though he was Mr. ERA championship, but there was nobody else. Like, even with the year that Arrieta had that year, you still trusted Lester with the experience with the ball. Like, he had the experience that Arrieta didn't have, and that's really what that staff needed. And he was tough as nails too. Like, Lester did not give a shit about anything. He would he had that intensity. He could intimidate you on the mound, and that in that kind of like Bob Gibson-y way, in that, sort of stare you down sort of thing, but not in like a fake way in which I'm fake tough. No, he just was tough. He naturally was a tough guy and a big guy, and he'd just look at you and go, uh-huh.
The other game that really stuck out to me was Game 5 of the World Series. Game 3 was such a letdown. It was Hendricks versus Josh Tomlin in Game 3. Josh Tomlin pitches the game of his life. So I had it all kind of set up. Corey Kluber was amazing that year. He's Game 1 against Lester. I kind of had the advantage Indians. I knew Arrieta was going to beat Drone Boy. Not worried about that. And then I was sure.
Right. Well, yeah, especially after he ripped his hand up on that drone, for sure.
And then Game 3, I thought for sure Hendo would beat Tomlinson, which, Tomlinson wasn't that good of a Josh Tomlin wasn't even supposed to be there. He was basically there because their two other better pitchers were injured. That was Salazar and Carrasco.
Carrasco, yeah.
And then, and so I figured that was easy Cubs. And then you figured they were going to lose the Kluber versus, because they were going 3-man rotation, Kluber versus Lackey. Lackey was garbage straight up in 2016 postseason. And so that was figured. And then you figured then it was so it would be 2-2. And then you had another couple starts with Arrieta, Lester, and Hendricks. So I thought the Cubs were going to be in good shape. And Josh Tomlin's dad had some sort of stroke or something, and they brought him from Cleveland or wherever he was from to see his son pitch, and had the absolute game of his life.
That's almost cheating.
It was like
it is. You're like,
that's emotional steroids.
Emotional steroids. Yeah, it's like
I'm sitting there leaving Game 3.
Family death to the freaking arm.
In Game 3, I think Javi Baez struck out with runners at second and third, and that was it. And the Cubs were now down 3 games. 2-1? And you knew it was going to be 3-1.
And with
after Kluber versus
don't even
Lackey.
Talk about Game 4.
That's Game 4. That's what I'm talking about. So
yeah,
now you're sitting there. And the prices of those secondary market tickets dropped, and then the Cubs tickets and all that shit. I'm going to Game 5 with my dad. So my dad, 71 years old, never been to a World Series game in his life, going to his first World Series game at Wrigley. All I gave a shit is that they won. I didn't know what was going to happen in Game 6 and 7. I just wanted my dad to see the Cubs win a World Series game at Wrigley Field and him being there. And that was another performance for the ages.
And if I remember right, they talked to him, the day before or whatever, and he was confident as hell. He was just like, we're gonna win.
That's what he had. I mean, that's what he had, that confidence. I mean, that's the swagger that he brought. I feel like, we're going to talk in a second about whether he's a Hall of Famer or not, but we can talk about the numbers and all that stuff, but there's something that people that watch certain players play and what they bring to the overall team that is an intangible. And you have to count that in when you're dealing with, what a guy brings, because it is a team sport. And, you can be the best player on a terrible team, and you might be a Hall of Famer, but you still didn't do much. But you can be a great player and bring your team up to the mountaintop. And I feel like then you start getting into that conversation for Hall of Fame. I want to address a comment or a question that's in the chat. It's from Little Yumper. What you drinking, Danny? Danny's drinking Jameson. J-Mo on the rocks.
But like I said, that game 5, all of a sudden, the way that the Cubs were able to kind of nail it down, and now you had Arrieta, you were like, okay, let's see what happens now. Like that game, going into game 5, there was kind of a little bit of a deflated feeling. If people say, oh no, everybody, when you're walking in there, and like I said, I went to 2015, all the playoff games. I went in 08, 07, 03. There was definitely some trepidation going in. I mean, you're down 3-1. You know what the odds are. I don't give a shit what you say. The odds are very much against you in that situation, no matter how good of a team you are, no matter how many times you came back with your back up against the wall. You have no margin for error down 3-1. None. 0. One bad start, one fluky thing, one Rajai Davis home run. One
Jon Lester wild pitch after
right. Danny, I was just going to bring that up because Crawly, you're talking about the game 5 5 was, and it was great. But then here he is on 3 days, and he's coming out of the bullpen. And I don't know if you guys have maybe something that sticks out, but this was maybe the worst memory I have of him is when he bounces that pitch in, gives David Ross a minor concussion, bounces the fucking thing off of his head. Ross is stupid. People are scoring on dude scored from second base on a fucking
That never happens. I mean, that only happens when like Javi Baez is. I mean, that doesn't happen in the major leagues. That's some little league crap where they're just running it all around.
It was maybe the worst moment of his entire time with the Cubs was that one bounced pitch in that game. And we were in, I don't know about you guys. I was very confident in that game, more so than the Rajai Davis later. That sort of freaked me out even more so than the tie. That just fucked with my head there for a minute.
Well, I got one more thing to Crawly. You got something?
The one thing for me that I remember very clearly about game 7 was, I know everyone was mad about getting taken out Hendricks and whatnot, but it kind of exercised some demons from 2003. Because everyone knows I've had season tickets on the left field side forever, over 20 years. And it brought me back to game 7 of 2003 of the NLCS. And it was Kerry Wood versus Mark Redmond on the mound starting that game, Cubs versus Marlins. And, it was really clear that Kerry Wood pitched magically that whole postseason, but he didn't have it in game 7. And Mark Redmond wasn't that great of a pitcher anyway. Neither of them had it. But Dusty went with his shitty bullpen, and Jack McKeenan went with his starter.
His guy,
out of the pen. And I'm like, so I remember in 2003, I'm like, where's Zambrano? Where's Clement? Get those guys fucking up. I don't want to see like Dave Veers or Antonio Alfonseca. Fuck that shit. This is game 7. Win or go home.
I do want to see his hand.
Six-fingered man.
You got to go six fingers in game 7.
And so I am sitting here, and for me, before anyone came in, before they pulled it, I just remember seeing Lester and Arrieta, and you knew Lackey wasn't getting in, but seeing those guys walk to the pen, from the dugout together to the pen, gave me a little bit of tingles, like whether we win or lose, at least we're not fucking it up that way.
Yeah,
right.
That is a good point. I mean, it was the wrong move to bring in Lester when they brought him in.
The next inning.
Yeah. The next inning, fine. Yeah.
If they bring him in the next inning to start the inning, I feel like maybe that game actually rolls. I think so. We don't even think about it.
You just let Hendricks get some soft contact, and we're. Anyway, I got one more clip to play of Lester. I got the songs at the end, but I thought it would be fun to play this hilarious interview. I believe this has got to be. I don't know.
2017.
Yeah.
Oh,
2017.
This is Jon Lester drunk after winning the NLDS. Is that what it was?
NLDS, yes. 2017 NLDS.
So check this out.
Plane flight tonight. What's it, about 5-6 hours?
Who knows?
That's probably not going to be any fun.
Who cares? It's always going to be, peaches and roses, or however the saying goes. I love watching guys. That's really cool. Who's doing that? I hate you.
Don't get that on the air.
Yeah, hell, I'll put it on the air. I don't care. And I did that on the camera. You see that?
Appreciate that.
I love our young guys. Our guys are so cocky that they don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. I apologize.
John, you've been in winning clubhouses before. What makes this winning clubhouse a special one?
Winning?
That's NLDS 2017, and then they're going to take a flight from there. They're going cross country to LA. So that's what he was talking about. But,
that was so funny. It's all peaches and roses, or whatever the saying
not an
is.
Obvious shirt.
No,
we got to make that shirt. It's all peaches and roses. If
all peaches and roses, and then he says, or whatever the saying is. Nobody knows whatever that saying is. Nobody has any idea what that saying might be.
Wine and roses, peaches and cream. You can go anywhere.
Peaches and cream, probably. Yeah. But I remember very clearly too. Is Lackey they were both blasted like beyond belief, way more than in 2016. And Lackey was drinking Crown Royal. I want to say straight like this, like that, just chugging the shit.
No wonder he got rocked. No wonder he got rocked in the CS. Like we gotta look back into the downfall of the Cubs, and we might point to their drunkenness.
And those two guys were part of the beer and chicken Red Sox too.
Yeah,
right. But what happens is they're going to go cross country to LA, and they did something they normally don't do. Is they brought everybody. They just got on a fucking plane because they were in Washington. They grab everybody, family, friends, everybody gets on the fucking plane, and they're heading to LA, and something happens with Quintana's wife.
Yeah,
she has some sort of episode on the plane or something, and they had to
land in like Kansas City or some shit.
Yeah, they had to. I think it's further west, but they had to land somewhere like in Nevada or something, and they had to sit in the tarmac forever, and they didn't get in. So they were thinking they could party, go on the flight, get a little sleep and something, and then it got all messed up. That wasn't too drunk for a haircut. That was the one out closer to a beer. That was that interview.
So, right, but I love that. That is hilarious.
I'm gonna play a quick Sun Ranto shopping commercial because that's how we keep the lights on here at the podcast is by using
unless you're a Patreon member, and then you don't have to deal with this shit.
Well, not in podcast form, but right now you do.
Right now, yeah.
So here's a quick commercial. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about Jon Lester's case for the Hall of Fame. And then we're going to take some questions from you, the listeners. We got a bunch of them. And we also have a story time with Crawly coming up. So stay tuned. If you're like most Americans, you buy shit. Lots of shit. Sometimes you buy shit for other people. Sometimes you buy shit for yourself. And sometimes you buy shit you have to buy just to stay alive. So why not buy shit through the Sun Ranto affiliate? Links at sunranto.com/shopping. We've got tons of shit you can buy. Go to sunranto.com, click on the shopping link, then click our ads and buy shit. We've got Amazon. They've got tons of shit. But you can also buy MLB shit, NBA shit, NFL shit, Fans Ed shit, Southwest Airlines shit, Fanatic shit, Reebok shit, Wine of the Month shit, Beer of the Month shit, Bear Mattress shit, StubHub shit, Lid shit, Sports Memorabilia shit, Volcanica coffee shit, Vibrator shit, Condom shit, Bag shit, NHL shit, and Audible membership shit. There's a whole lot of shit that can help the Sun Ranto show stay on the air so we can keep talking shit. So buy shit today through sunranto.com/shopping. Thanks. Cubs Jesus thinks you're the shit. Buy our shit.
Real quick before we get into this Hall of Fame talk. Well, maybe this is a perfect segue into it. We didn't even mention that the guy picked up a $47,000 beer tab when he left the Cubs, which was I've never heard of it before. Maybe other people have done it, but that was pretty fucking amazing.
But bought everybody in town a Budweiser. What was it at specific bars? I forget what it was.
It was a Miller, and it was specific bars because it was COVID.
Right.
So there was only specific bars that were actually open for whatever reason. But yeah, and I believe it was a Miller. I think you had to have a Miller something or another.
So I also want to mention too, we're doing our giveaway tonight, Chance for a Chance. We have 8 entries so far. So if you type into the chat #chance, Chance is spelled CHANCE for those of you that don't know how to spell chance. And you
for those of you who are recovering Cardinals fans.
Yeah, and you can win a postcard sent to you by me of Frank Chance. So yeah, Hall of Fame. My one regret about Lester is, look, this is a long, good 16-year career, and he really should have finished it with Chicago. It's so sad. He was an All-Star 5 times. He won World Series with Boston and with Chicago, of course. That, totally changed our culture here. And then kind of fizzled out. He was there in the COVID year, 2020. We never got to say goodbye. He ends up going to D.C., gets traded to St. Louis, of all places. And, that's just kind of a disappointing thing. Now he's got a stupid Cardinals hat on his baseball reference page.
Well,
he's going to stick there until forever now.
But I think that's actually the story that nobody is picking up on. Jon Lester spent 2 months in St. Louis and fucking decided never to play baseball again. That's a story right there. It ran Jon Lester out of baseball.
That's my TFC.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Let's talk about. You had something to put up first, Michael, right?
Yeah, I had. So getting into this, I went out, and of course it's Jon Lester. I knew there was going to be some asshole out there, right? And there was.
Always is.
It was
sometimes it's me.
So this dude, this fucking cube pops in there and says, BTW, Jon Lester is not a Hall of Famer, if that needed to be cleared up. Now, if you want to say that,
look at his. He says Abreu.
And that's where I'm at, Danny. That's why this is a TFC. You can say that. You can make an argument for that. But his name is Ben. Picture of something. #Abreu to HOF.
Yeah,
Bobby. He's dying on this hill of Bobby Abreu to the Hall of Fame, and he wants to make a fucking comment about Jon Lester not going.
He's dying on another hill too. If you look at it, his actual Twitter name is @Correa2NYY.
Oh God, I didn't even look at that part of it.
So this guy's just
he's a Yankees fan. Clearly,
he's a Yankees fan. Which
well, then why is he into Abreu?
Because he hates Boston. I think it might be
he hates Boston. Yeah, he hates Boston. He hates Jon Lester from way back. He's never going to let it go. So let's talk about Lester's. First of all, Crawly, is Lester a Hall of Famer?
So, in my opinion, that answer would definitely be a yes. I don't know if anyone's really surprised by my answer, but it's hard because sometimes the game changes. So certain stats were always kind of looked at as like, does he have 300 wins? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really not going to be approached by really almost any other player anymore. I'm trying to remember actively who's even close.
Verlander is number 1 right now, and he didn't pitch this year, but he's got 229, and so never getting to 300. And after that is Greinke with 216, and then it's
so nobody's close. It's probably not gonna. It's not gonna be something that we really see very often anymore. So you got to take this. So sometimes they have these benchmarks, numbers that you'd be like, okay, you get 3,000 hits, Hall of Fame. Oh, you got 300 wins, Hall of Fame, almost instantaneous. But what Jon Lester brings to the table as far as Hall of Fame candidacy, this is from Marco Scola. 33 pitchers in history have won 200 plus games, struck out 2,400 batters, and had a career ERA less than 370. 24 of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. Only 3 have won 3 World Series like Jon Lester has. Curt Schilling,
not in the Hall
Don
of Fame.
Drysdale.
In the Hall of Fame.
Don Drysdale is not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he's not?
No. And there would be a lot of people that would question why that is.
Yeah,
and Jon Lester.
Well, his Dale is too dry.
And so if you're looking at that,
if he was Wetsdale, he'd be in for sure.
So,
John Wetsdale
again,
gets in.
only 33 pitchers have 200 games, struck out 2,400, ERA less than 370. 24 of them are in the Hall of Fame, and only 3 of that group, 3 of that group have 3 World Series, right? And only these of that group have won 3 World Series. Schilling, maybe Drysdale is in. I'll double check.
And Roberto Ramos in the chat, points out he has the most appearances in postseason play. And that's where I'm at. I agree with you, Crawly. I think
he was
a Hall of
inducted
Famer.
Sorry to interrupt. Inducted in 1984. Drysdale is
okay.
in.
That's what I thought. And so sorry about
and
that.
Schilling's not in, but it has nothing to do with his playing.
Right.
Correct. If we were just basing it off play, he'd be in.
Yeah. Now,
Drysdale pitched. I'm just looking at his numbers in the Hall of Fame. 14 years playing in the majors. John 16. Don Drysdale had a 2.95 ERA. Lester's is higher than that. He would all-star a bunch, a lot more than Jon Lester. Even got MVP votes. But these are different eras we're talking about, which I think is an important distinction.
It's different eras, but I think that the reason. So Jon Lester, like everybody's going to, you're going to throw up the stats and the numbers and all that stuff. And if you look at those, you're not going to be able to make a really strong case for Jon Lester because those are regular season numbers. The reason Jon Lester is a Hall of Fame worthy pitcher has nothing to do with the regular season. It's the most appearances in the postseason, 3 World Series rings. And on 2 of those, he was the man. Like he wasn't John Lackey, getting that ring at the end, or Matt Caesar, not even there, but like there are people who have rings that didn't do a ton. And then there's Jon Lester, who, as Danny was saying earlier, lifted the team and made them this like force to really be reckoned with. And I mean, he was a stopper in that line.
We're going to leave guys out with the stats like Sammy Sosa has, who have the stats to get into the Hall of Fame. Then they got to put guys that maybe are on like the kind of the cusp of the Hall of Fame, like the Hall of Very Good stat wise, like Jon Lester. And I want to put up like a graphic real quick here. So here's Jon Lester's overall stats. And the number that impresses me most is on average in the 16 years that he pitched in the major leagues, he pitched 206 innings a year. That's amazing. In this day and age, that is a workhorse. That is somebody that you can rely on to come through at all times and be there for your team when you need him.
That's something we're not going to see maybe ever again. That 200 in a season
It'll
number
be rare. It'll be rare. Your
so
Max
rare.
Scherzers and your guys that'll do that. 117 ERA plus. He finished with an overall earned run average. I'm looking for it here at 366. Pretty respectable, as far as that goes.
Well, and you have to
right
you
where
have to
you
take
wanna
into
be.
consideration the last few years when he's at his oldest. Like
Strikeouts per 9
that hurts
on
you.
average, 8.2. That is incredible. You're striking out a guy an inning, sitting his ass down on the bench, can't do it. Like that is the most unproductive out you could have, and Jon Lester is making the other team have him.
And again, this is kind of one of those things where you look at how the game of baseball changes. And I remember listening to Lee Smith talking about these relievers now only get 1 inning to have to do. I used to have to work 3-4 innings. You know what I mean? Like just completely different at how you look at the numbers. And one thing, and we saw it this offseason, this World Series, is how many pitchers now in the future do you think are going to be allowed to go 3 times through the order? When we talked about that matchup of Jon Lester versus Cueto, that epic battle. How often is that going to happen now? Or are managers just going to pull guys like this? Oh, that's 3 times. I didn't pull them out. Get my bullpen going and chugging.
We saw it 2 years ago in the World Series. Tampa Bay fucking ruined their chance by playing that sort of game.
Yeah, right. Well, and so the question that you're going to ask yourself is the stats play that more often than not, if you go through the 3rd time the order, you're in trouble. So I'm just wondering how many of these guys are going to have postseason stats like Jon Lester did in the future.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. Probably not a lot, and especially because the word on the street out is out there is that that's what you do. So they're going to make these guys. It's going to trickle down all the way to freaking college and high school, and then it'll be like, oh no, he just faces one guy. Like, I mean, even my nephew's little league team, like it's the right thing to do. Don't make the kid pitch more than 1 inning. But when I was in little league, you had 2 guys that could pitch, and that's it. You had 12 guys on the team. 2 guys like to pitch, and they're who did it. They pitched the whole game. Didn't matter if you lost 15-2, or more. But how about this? More Lester Hall of Fame kind of stats here. Here's the similarity scores that Baseball Reference has on him. Dwight Gooden is similar, the most similar. David Cone, Tim Hudson, Verlander's right there, Halliday's right there, Jimmy Key, famous Blue Jay from the 80s.
Just looking at these, let's just kind of stop. Let's stop at the top 5. Okay, let's look at the top 5. Dwight Gooden, a lot. I mean, at one point in time, he was the most dominant pitcher for a couple years before the cocaine got him a little bit goofy. You know what I mean? You're talking about Tim Hudson, who a lot of people are arguing should be in the Hall of Fame. Verlander, does anyone think he won't be in the Hall of Fame? And then Roy Halladay, who is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Verlander probably has those numbers. Plus, he's going. I mean, like I said before,
Cohen, though,
he's at 226, and unless Greinke continues to pitch, yeah, I know I fucked that whole name up, didn't I?
You pronounced every vowel.
I really did. It just, man,
that kind of reminds you of Eugenio Suarez.
or what do you got, Malore?
No,
you're taking things away.
But yeah, point. So no, so unless Greinke continues to pitch and has success here in the next couple of years, he's going to be the last guy with 229 or 226, whatever he's at right now. Because just nobody goes over 200. I mean, Jon Lester is, outside of those 2 guys, I think there's somebody at 190, but I don't know that they're going to get there.
I'm looking at David Cohn's numbers here. Played an extra year than Lester did. 227 innings average, a lower ERA, the same amount of strikeouts per 9. I mean, you're looking at some of these guys and you're like, why isn't David Cone in the Hall of Fame?
Actually,
sometimes that is a big complaint about baseball. And this complaint came up when Harold Baines made it into the Hall of Fame. Okay.
You'll never stop complaining about it.
It's not that I'm complaining about him making the Hall of Fame, because there is a legitimate argument for it. It's basically what bothered me was the strong arm tactics of Reinsdorf and La Russa. It was kind of like this backdoor entrance that if he hadn't played with La Russa and Reinsdorf, then he wouldn't have been. That's what bothered me more than anything. But the argument goes for a more inclusive Hall of Fame. Guys like Mark Grace, guys that really meant a lot to a lot of baseball fans. Harold Baines growing up in the 80s, I wasn't a Sox fan, but I sure as hell knew who he was. And I knew the importance of the city and to the team. And that's where sometimes baseball can kind of be a little bit snobby with their Hall of Fame voting.
That's probably why there should be more team Hall of Fames. And I know the Cubs kind of have one. You got those stupid plaques, but they don't. But Yankees definitely have one. Some teams definitely employ Hall of Fames. But
the other thing I think is going to hurt Jon Lester is that Kershaw is going to retire in the next couple of years, right? So unless
they're all going to compare him to Kershaw,
right? Unless Lester gets in prior to Kershaw's eligibility, they're going to be looking at Kershaw, and Kershaw probably will break the 200 mark. And Kershaw's a no doubter. He's an absolute no doubter, and it's hard to compare.
Guess. I mean, he's been there.
He has his World Series
the entire time. He's got the one World Series in some bullshit 2020 year that doesn't even count. And all the other time, he freaking shit the bed every time he took the mound in a big game. Like, to me, Jon Lester is he did. He literally shit his pants every time he took the ball in a big game, and he pissed all over the mound, and he pissed his pants. He went crying home to his mom every single time. Every time.
And that is really the big problem with the numbers, right? Because the numbers are regular season numbers. The postseason is just not put into those numbers. And so you look at Kershaw versus Lester, and you're looking at these numbers and you're going, yeah, Kershaw's way better. But yeah, we watched Kershaw fold up a couple of times. And we saw, I mean, he was in 4 out of 5 fucking World Series. And he just he made it through. He got his ring now. You can never take that away. And that's good.
Yes, you can. You can steal it. Crawly, what were you going to say?
Well, he wasn't the most dominant pitcher on the team that year that they won the World Series.
True.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm really I'm interested in Hall of Fame voting. I want to see it changed and reformed and whatnot. But, a lot of what I keep hearing about Big Papi, you know what I mean? Because right now, if you're looking at the projections, looks like he's going to be the only guy that gets in this year. But they talked about the clutchness of his postseason performance. And I don't feel like they talk enough about that when it comes to pitchers. It took Jack Morris a while to get in. Jack Morris is one of those guys that, again,
that's the guy I was thinking about. And is he in the Hall of Fame? I thought he was. And then I just looked at his Wikipedia page and it didn't say shit about his Hall of Fame.
I'm pretty sure he did through the Veterans Committee.
Oh, okay.
And so not through the balloting, like the baseball writers.
Yeah, he's in 2018.
2018. So Veterans Committee. And honestly, that's going to be the way that that Lester does get in, I think.
But
it's going to be 15 years down the road. It's going to be a Veterans Committee thing because the numbers.
Because the sports writers are idiots, and
the numbers don't look good enough.
And newspapers have been dead for how long? And we're still like, oh yeah, let's see what the guy who writes for the local rag that watches them every day. It's like, dude, you got lots of people watching them every day. What is this Baseball Writers Association situation that is so has this stranglehold on the Hall of Fame? It is ridiculous. Crawly, I agree.
But what you're going to kind of
ask for it too.
What you're going to also take a look at here, though, is that, yes, absolutely, Curt Schilling has gone far off bananas, ape shit crazy the last couple of years with his political nonsense that he's been blowing up people's asses. But he's been on the ballot a while, okay? I think this is his 10th year on the ballot. And so prior to, let's say 2015, so for 4 years, he could have been elected before completely going off the deep end. And it was the same kind of argument, is that his regular season numbers weren't that dominant. But postseason-wise, you'd be really hard-pressed to find a better postseason pitcher than Curt Schilling.
Yeah,
and I remember that. I remember that the bloody sock. I'll remember
sock.
Clear as day.
Lyle would be so pissed right now.
2001, watching basically Brenly going to a 2-man staff, just finally saying, "Fuck it, we're just going Schilling and Johnson. I don't care. You guys are throwing in." That performance was just unbelievable. So I would say that it's a fault that's it's something that's gonna affect Lester. It's affected Schilling in his early candidacy, and I think it's stupid.
And here's the thing: it's like these guys get in with these, late, the Veterans Committee or whatever. That's fine. What frustrates me is
the players should vote in the first place. It should be
the players.
Writers, the sports writers should be cut out. At this point, they have failed so much that they're done. In my book,
here's the problem:
players, coaches, front office. That's your 3 voting blocks.
Yeah.
So you have your no doubt Hall of Famers, right? They get in the first, second, or third try. First, second, third ballot Hall of Famers, right? Your truly greatest of the greats are first ballot Hall of Famers. That's why we call it. Ryan Sandberg wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, okay? The truly greats of the sports, the pinnacle are first ballot Hall of Famers, no question.
Except for Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, because they're like, oh,
Different,
tisk,
right.
tisk,
Right.
tisk.
But
Freaking assholes.
what we do there is you have that, right?
Pete Rose.
Then
Pete Rose, yeah.
the last 3 or 4 years, the argument is, well, if you haven't got in by now, you probably don't belong. So you really, like, if you're not like one of the most amazing players of your generation at the beginning, and then if you can't get in the beginning, it's hard to get in the last 3 or 4 years. You see all the sympathy votes, and then you get the anti-sympathy votes. It's a fucking mess.
It is a mess, and I like what we get a lot of comments right now. Let me read a few of them. Little Yumper writes in: the baseball writers had no issue voting for these players for season awards when there was speculation about their cheating or whatever. Can't play gatekeepers now. And Cub Doggy 1981 says, I don't know. Players would be voting everyone in. They'd be like, yeah, that guy was good.
I like that guy.
Yeah, I think again, it doesn't have to be crazy like that. But again, how does Mark Grace? We talked about it. Phenomenal defense, most hit in the 90s, most doubles in the 90s, and he's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, I scratch my, and there's a lot of really very, very good players that, again, are they the greatest of the greatest that baseball's ever had to offer? No, Mark Grace was never the most dominant. He's a really good player for many, many years, and he meant a lot for the Cubs organization. And there's other players that are in a similar vein on different teams.
You know, and then shit like what happened to Ron Santo,
right?
Going in the year after the year after he dies. I mean, I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't have a great season that year. He didn't. That year after he died, he didn't put up any numbers that should have fucking swayed the vote.
He put up this date to that date. But hey, let's take another quick break. Let's cool it off here. I'm getting a little hot-headed. Here's a commercial for Sun Ranto Swag. Stick with us. We are going to talk, I guess, a little bit more about this because it doesn't seem like we're done. But we have lots of listener questions to get through. I think we should do it.
Yeah, hold on.
Before we swag commercial.
Do you like having sex? Me too. That's why I always wear my Sun Ranto swag shirts every time I'm looking to get some. It's the only t-shirts guaranteed to get you laid. Knock boots in your shankless shirt. Bump uglies in a Ranter long sleeve. Ride the skin busted Tuna Town in a Dabbing Cubes fan shirt. Take gold one-eye to the optometrist in your bull penis awesome attire, or smash pissers in a Spagog shirt. Sun Ranto swag shirts are just like people. There are many different sizes and colors to choose from. Plus, at Sun Ranto's swag store, you'll find vintage John Baker Day, Designated Hater, and Matt Cameron drawn rally titty designs on everything from shirts and hoodies to baby onesies, bags, and hats. Go to sunranto.com/swag and check out all the sexy styles guaranteed to get you laid. You'll be stuffing the soft taco in no time. sunranto.com/swag, guaranteed to get you laid.
Wearing Sun Ranto Swag products not guaranteed to get you laid. Sun Ranto Swag is not responsible for your sex life. Sun Ranto Swag is for entertainment purposes only.
That commercial both horrifies me and entertains me. Even though I made it, I still am like, smash pissers. That's a rough one. That's rough.
That's hilarious.
Crawly's blushing.
I'm with it. And so if you didn't hear that commercial, thank you. You're a Patreon supporter, and we like you better than everyone else.
You guys want to get into the listener questions? I feel like we should.
Hey, okay, real quick though, let me hit the poll that I've been running for the last 3 hours.
Well, don't hit a poll. You might get a concussion.
Is Jon Lester a Hall of Famer? We have 44 votes on this, and granted,
everybody thinks
probably mostly Cubs fans.
100% of people.
88.6% of people think that he is a Hall of Famer. 11.4 say no. But I want to contrast that to Bobby Abreu. 66.7% say no, not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And I think what we've identified is that there's a large gap between the writers who put these guys in and the power that they carry and the fans and what they think and want, and the players and what they think is fair and that they have no say in it. There's this weird triangulation of power with this thing that is seemingly important. At least it's important to us, the fans, and the players. I just don't understand why we can't get it together and get a better system going.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like one of those things that just keeps going on the way it's been going on because it's been going on that way and nobody has the freaking cojones to change it, So
the thing I came up with here on this show, Danny, is that I like Jon Lester a lot more than I even realized I did.
I actually came on this show to say that I don't think Jon Lester is a Hall of Famer by the numbers. And Crawly, you kind of like changed my mind of it.
I was going to say, how do you feel now?
Well, first of all, I can be swayed so easily. Like I signed up for Amway today. It was like I got some soap I could sell you, but no, there is something to be said for when you remember Jon Lester and you watched him pitch and how it stood out in that way. It feels like a Hall of Fame performance. When you compare him to other people of his caliber, for whatever reason, they've also been looked over for the amazing performances that they had in the major leagues. So it's just like, I don't know, but we're beating a dead horse here. Let's get to listener questions. Let's start with a low ball. This one's from Dan Nielsen from Facebook. He said, "Do you consider Varsity Blues a good movie?" And I was like, "What's Varsity Blues?" is what I said in my
I'll take that, Dan. I don't remember what the young lady's name was, but she was in a
well, she's not in this picture, I'll tell you that much.
She was the whipped cream girl, right?
Whipped cream bikini. So I will give that 2 thumbs up.
So just worth it just for that one moment.
Yes.
Could you just watch that one part?
Well, not back in the day you couldn't.
Yeah, sure.
I will.
What is this? 1923 that this movie came out? The 90s. You had a videotape.
I have not seen this movie since the 90s. I do remember enjoying it then. I also remember there's a strip club scene that was even better, I think, than the
I saw that in the trailer. The fat guy strips.
Yeah, he does.
I saw that. Yeah.
I thought it was a good movie. It's just been so it's been overshadowed by Friday Night Lights.
Was that the one, Michael, that had the controversy because in one scene, like the players were all lining up together in like the highway and like other football players were trying it and like getting run over and shit?
Oh God, probably.
Do you remember? Fuck, somebody in the chat look that up for me because I swear to God, there was a scene and I think did Disney put Varsity Blues out? I think they cut it out of it.
Yeah.
But
the thing I remember is the fat dude kept getting concussions. This is back before concussions was like a thing, and that kid was getting fucked up. And that's the first time I honestly ever thought about the fact that concussions are bad. And then I got my own real bad one a few years later. I'm like, guess what?
Then one time I went flying through a windshield. And so here's a more serious baseball question. This one's about opening day. And I think we should do these lightning round, just kind of like quick answers. Okay. Lucy on Twitter at Cubs 2016-1908. My question, are we going to have opening day and is it going to be the regularly scheduled day? We've covered this. I think the answer we all think is no. But they are meeting tomorrow. We didn't mention that. They're going to have a meeting and there's going to be a framework of the financial situation from the owners, some kind of proposal. And I guess we'll maybe find out what that is. It seems like we'll get that leaked to us within the next few days, right? I mean, the owners will leak it just to get us on their side. Be like, look at these greedy players. Ah!
Yeah, it's going to be all about the greedy players.
Which
I
is
agree.
Why I don't think they're going to do anything serious. I think they're going to put it to the last minute.
And we do have differing opinions on the show about when the games will start, but I think we're all agreed that it's not the regularly scheduled opening day.
Which is a shame because it's in Cincinnati, which is the quote unquote first opening day of all time in ancient Rome or whatever the fuck the Cincinnati claims from Cincinnatus. And
and if you've listened to Baseball Rabbit Hole, I have an entire show about how that's not exactly true.
Plug. Shameless, Michael. But
hey, I'm going to do a second season, by the way. Maybe.
Awesome. I hope you do. It's a great show.
Just so you know, I was wrong. This was driving me nuts. It was The Program was the movie where kids copied the lying down in the street.
Okay.
The quarterback wants them to not be scared, so they all lay down in the middle of this highway, and the cars are going back there, and some kids in real life are like, that's a great idea.
Well, you know what?
Down in the highway.
I did not watch The Program, but I have gotten drunk and laid down in a highway. Now that you're saying what that was, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
I can vouch for him. I've seen it.
Game off. Game off. Everybody get up. Like the car's coming. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that the season starts on time, and it's a shame because that Cincinnati game would have been fun. I would have gone with Billy, our friend Billy, who's come on, talked about the Red Series, great comedian out in Cincinnati, and we were going to have a time of our life. But instead, they can't. Rob Manfred hates baseball, and here we are. Here's another kind of serious question. Correa. So there's two of them here. So many are on this Correa to the Cubs train. What do you guys think the possibility is Jed is active in getting him? I just am having trouble seeing it. Not against it, though. That's from Maggie May on Twitter. And Jim Canavan has the same question. Kind of a follow-up question. After Carlos Correa, what would be next on the wish list? For me, it would be an SP, starting pitcher. I'm intrigued by Rodon. Does anyone else have an opinion? Thank you. I will hang up and listen to your answer.
So
was he like on the phone when he left that? Like he thought he was calling. Like, I don't know what happened.
You know what, Danny? That can totally happen now. You can talk to text. It's a thing.
I do it all the time.
After a couple too many margaritas at Uncle Julio's, that can happen sometimes with Jim. But Jim and I are going to go to Uncle Julio's next season.
You got to. It'll be like the beer summit between Obama and that other guy.
What we're going to do is take the first one. Correa, the answer is no, because the Cubs don't want to commit the years. The money is not as an issue. It's the years as an issue. I see them looking more towards Trevor Story. I like Rodon. I don't like his health situation where it is always an issue. And again, it flared up at the worst possible time for the White Sox. And so this is his first real big contract.
It was the worst time for the White Sox.
It was it's that kind of thing where he has a chance to get a big contract. And Boris is an agent, and Boris is going to look at the numbers from last year, which until he got injured,
hemorrhoid. Yeah.
was probably Cy Young numbers or close to it in the conversation. And then his arm just started having problems. So Boris is going to want years and money because he knows that this is really the shot.
The question
I wouldn't do it.
What is your next?
I think they go get Trevor Story. They obviously need another starting pitcher.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer this in a little bit different way. The question as asked was, will they be in on it? 100%. I think that they are going to go after Correa with everything that they have. I just don't think that the Ricketts are going to give them enough to make the deal happen. And then after that, with Rodon, it is the years. They're not going to give him the years. They would give him the money, but not the years. And
they got the money.
I think there's arguments to be made that he won't make that much. You could, give him 25 a year or whatever for a starting pitcher, but they're only going to want to do that for 2 years or something like that. They're not going to give him a 5-year deal or anything like that. And that's going to keep them away from Rodon. I just hope, I really do want Correa. I think that's where they should be going. And I hope that they, I don't know. I hope that they just open the fucking pocket.
Here's the
really
thing.
Go for it.
The best shortstop on the market right now, you just go get him. You're Chicago, just go get him. Even if you have to eat the last few years in a Haywardy way, even though Hayward's entire contract was that way. And with Rodon, you just pay him a lot of money for like 1-2 years. Like give him a stupid drone boy, to use Crawly's earlier reference to Trevor Bauer. Give it that kind of deal. Oh, here's 25 million. Just pitch for us one season. We'll see how your health
Again,
is.
when you talk about
Option
those
situation, I don't know. You got to prove it if you're Rodon at this point. I agree.
my question
I just think
though,
with
is,
Rodon, he won't agree to that.
when you look at those big long-term deals, how many of them have ever really panned out great for anybody? I'm just trying to think of somebody that's
Jon Lester.
I didn't think of that as a long time. You knew the back end was going to be a little bit bumpy, but I don't think that was 7 years.
Yeah.
When it comes to a pitcher,
12.
When it comes to a pitcher, that's a long
time. Yeah.
contract.
But a shortstop, you figure you can move him around. I mean, 12 years is a long time. The guy's 27. He's trying to lock himself up. He's trying to make himself the dude in the town. And like when you're somewhere for 12 years, like there's a lot more that goes into that decision than just like whether you're going to be on a winning franchise. Like, or, you want to be selling Buena Beefs and, doing, the big Chicago media stuff. Like, I don't know, maybe the bright lights in New York are for him. He's been in Houston. Maybe he wants to step it up. I don't know.
Jack says Harper deal looks like it's going well.
Yeah.
Nobody in Philadelphia thought that until this year.
Yep.
Because they didn't win. Because they had still.
Harper wasn't having good years for a couple of years that he was there. That looked like a complete bust of a deal. And then he broke out this year, had a good year. All I'm telling you, man, is I remember watching Soriano, and I know Correa is obviously a better fielder than Soriano, but when you sit there and you commit to that. And I remember Soriano just starting out with the Cubs. He's in left field. He's doing he was in center at the time. And he pulls a hamstring. And you're going, oh, Jesus Christ. This was like in April of like his first season. Yeah. It's like when you commit so much of your salary. And I know we like to say, well, it's not our money or the Ricketts should spend this or blah, blah, blah.
No, but
if you don't pretend it doesn't have an impact. And if you sit there, I think that the 10 years also you have to be the right mentality of a player. The expectations of what you have to do are beyond that. If you're going to go 10 years and $250 million, well then, dude, you better fucking hit a home run, run out and catch the home run, and then hand it to Mai Tai. That's what we're going to be expecting. It's almost unrealistic expectations.
And Crawly, I love the you putting Harper with the Soriano because regardless of what Harper does, if they don't win, right? That was Soriano's. The biggest knock on Soriano was that the entire team didn't win. Because when the team doesn't win, you immediately look at the guy making the biggest paycheck and you go, what are you doing? That's why Hayward gets so much shit. Hayward is an absolutely fine, wonderful player. If he's a mid-range, player, right? If he's not,
I don't know,
if he doesn't make as much as he does, you know what I mean? But also, they can get rid of him, right? That's part of the whole thing. Is like you can get rid of a person like that. You can't do it with the Soriano. You can't do it with the Hayward because of that, and that builds in a little bit of resentment.
Well, let's get to another question.
Hold on.
These are supposed to be rapid fire.
Okay, hold on. This one's going to be a little bit quicker. It's out of the chat. Let's do a little chat one here.
A chat one.
Tim DeHate, which by the way, Tim, tell me if that's really your name because good God, DeHate.
Yeah, he was born to be a ranter.
I know. Hey, Danny, better soundtrack, Dazed and Confused or Forrest Gump?
I'll take that one. Sorry, Danny. I'm going to go with Dazed and Confused is by far the better soundtrack. Forrest Gump is nothing more than a shitty schlocky movie. And then they took 2 CDs of all the boomers' favorite hits and then just packed it into a CD and like, look at all these great songs. Well, no shit, but they're really lame if you actually look at. I don't know.
I'm
Dazed and Confused.
I'm starting with Forrest Gump. We got Hound Dog. I don't know why, but Clarence Henry. I don't know that Rebel Rouser. Walk Right In. I don't even know.
We're going by decades. We're going in the 50s.
Yeah.
There's more. Oh, I see. Okay, so
there's
now
so many.
California Dreamin', Mrs. Robinson, Break On Through. Yeah, I mean these are just like this is like WLS.
Don't they have the Chicago Aquarius?
Right. Yeah.
Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah, there's 32 songs. Okay, so
here's the thing.
Confused. What do we got here? Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, School's Out.
here's my take on those two soundtracks.
Lowrider.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
They're the same fucking soundtrack. They're
Yeah,
the exact
I agree.
same.
That I agree with.
Fucking soundtrack.
I'm like,
if
dude,
you turn on a specific station, these are just songs that you hear. That's the shit. Like, there's nothing super interesting about those. Because I've heard
I'm gonna throw a curveball here, and one of my favorite soundtracks, and one that has inspired my entire life, from the time I heard the music.
If you
want to
reach the heights that Danny Rocket has reached,
yeah. Then
Danny, can I ask? Does it involve Arizona and K's?
Well, no, that's a different story. But yeah, we could talk about my affinity for Rocky Horror Picture Show. But no, what it does involve is my favorite soundtrack from a famous Cubs fan is in this movie, Bill Murray, Broken Flowers, and there's the music of Mulatu Astatke, who is from Africa. It's Ethiopian jazz, and it is so cool. And that's the first time I ever heard that music. And since hearing that music in that movie, it opened up a whole world of sounds and music that I groove to pretty regularly. Like, it's one of my regular put-ons is a Mulatu Astatke like station or something like that. So there's my recommendation.
That's good. I'll have to.
It's not Americana or anything. Or
I'm just telling you that Dazed and Confused is totally what. If you were from the '70s, you're like, yeah, that shit's my jam. Just like for me, when I listen to the Singles soundtrack, I'm like, holy shit, man! The Singles soundtrack from the '90s movie with all the Seattle bands. That's like right in our wheelhouse, right in the years that was all.
See, I was a nerd. I was listening to like Dr. Demento and They Might Be Giants. You know.
Well, I love the soundtrack in Dazed and Confused in the movie. But it's not a CD I'm throwing on. But mine is one I really love, The Lost Boys.
Oh, that is a good one.
The Lost Boys
I remember
soundtrack
making out to that in high school.
It's an excellent soundtrack, and my oldest son literally he asked for that for Christmas this year
because he wants to make out with it.
Cubs Dodge said Reservoir Dogs soundtrack was good, and I would agree with that. Any Tarantino
soundtrack is pretty good.
Sure. Yep. It's a great conversation. Great question. So let's get another question in here. And John Pickus, this is Cubs related, but it's weird because it's John. In 2041, there will be lots. In 2041, there will be lots of celebrations of the 16 World Series team. Besides Addy, which one of those players won't be invited back for various festivities?
Ooh.
I think Addy will be invited back. I
think so too. He's already on the
right. Addy will be invited back,
but on the freaking pond out in front of Wrigley.
When they find all those dead children at John Lackey's house, done.
I would say he's not coming back. Like Brian Mateusz's of the world and those kind of guys. I don't know, guys that were just there for like 1 week or something.
No, those guys are going to be the ones that will not miss a goddamn reunion.
Yeah, those are the ones that will never miss.
I think those are more like your like Matt Caesars or your Chris Coglins or
I don't know. Matt Caesar is more in NFTs now.
Yeah,
right. But he's going to show up every reunion. He's going to be like, Rizzo used my bat.
Yeah, just to sell the NFT of him saying Rizzo used my bat. Who's on that team? Let's see. How about Rob Jastrzębski? Easy for me to say. He's definitely coming if he can get here from Canada because that's where he's from. Spencer Patton? What?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. Was he a reliever? I think he was a spot starter.
Really?
Too.
Oh God. Joel Peralta?
Yep. Joel Peralta. Yeah, he's another pitcher.
Yeah, Matuz.
Danny, do you remember we used to do a
Joe freaking Nathan? What the hell?
Joe Nathan was on the team.
Oh my God.
Danny, you remember we used to do a bit on the show in like November where I would go through all the players and you and Lyle had to guess whether they were on the team or not. Like
We should have a game that's like, were they on the team or were they a bit player on Bonanza? Or something like that.
Or did a Japanese video game invent their name?
Oh man. All right, more questions?
Would you rather fight one Mai Tai guy size?
No, we'll do that in a second. Well,
okay. That's in your list. Okay,
I got more.
Making sure.
Yeah, I got more Pinkuses. If you could go back more than 100 years, would you recommend a different color scheme for the Cubs?
No.
No. I love Danny. Danny's going to be the guy on this because he fucking hates this color blue. I love the Cubs color scheme.
You see what I painted my wall? That blue I like. That when
you
the
like
blue
the 70s.
But Crawly's wearing, and I'll wear that blue only to a Cubs game or when I'm repping the Cubs. But mostly I like darker colors.
Yeah.
See, Crawly,
what do you think about the color scheme?
That's a darker blue on your wall.
That's that. No, that is literally officially like a Cubby blue. You can buy it's through Benjamin Moore. And so there's like a red marquee red, and this is the Cubby blue.
Crawly's like, I spent $5,000 to have the dude that painted the fucking clubhouse come in and do it.
Match it.
Well, and until Pat Hughes describes the blue to me, I'm not on board. Just saying. I'm giving you shit. No, it actually that blue.
Oh no.
Closer to it.
I call it Cubby blue is what I call.
It is Cubby blue. And it is a very specific color. Like I tried to match it. If you see like on our broadcast right now in the Sun Ranto and the Sun Ranto show, that's pretty close to Cubby blue, wouldn't you say?
It's pretty close.
Yeah. It's maybe a little bit more electric.
Yep.
Because I'd rather it be something else. Like
next question.
Yeah. Okay. All right. You don't want to hear me
go
about why we gonna fight tonight? Are we fighting tonight?
Pinkus says I would have kept the black, white, and gray. John, that was just black and white photography. they had all sorts of colors back in the day. They didn't have a camera.
We're gonna get Crawly mad tonight at some point. All right, here's another Pinkus though, and I like this one. Do you think Wrigley needs a signature food item besides the Chicago hot dog, like the garlic fries in San Fran or Skyline Chili in Cincy, which they don't really have at the ballpark, by the way?
I would say that I disagree. I think the not signature, but a signature restaurant that we have is Hot Dogs in the bleachers, and they always come up with interesting hot dog concoctions, name them after players. They're absolutely great. The only problem is no one in the grandstand can get to those hot dogs that are absolutely phenomenal and way better than the shit that the Cubs give us in grandstand. So
and hot dogs doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist in the grandstands. I've been down there where they're like, yeah, it says Chicago dog. And you buy that motherfucker, it's a hot dog in a bun. And they're like, yeah, it's Chicago, motherfucker. I'm like, fuck you.
Wait. Are you saying Hot Dogs is gone?
No, Hot Dogs is there. What I'm saying is that that Hot Dogs is gone, the actual store.
Correct. The only place you can get it is at Wrigley. And so I think that, and again, I know the owner doesn't want to get like that's part of the reason he's like basically semi-retired. He works 81 days a year, but it would be a lot more awesome if it was in a lot different part of the parks. I bet that would be a huge hit.
Well, here's the thing. It's like, I don't mind that the food at Wrigley sucks. I think that might be like kind of an interesting way to go about it. Just like have the worst food in baseball and like go up there and like make people like the shitty nachos and like the steamed dogs and everybody complains about it. Cause you know what I mean? It's like, we like to complain. We're Chicagoans. We're complainers. We have the Sun Ranto show. Like I want to complain about like your terrible food concoctions. And like, I don't want good food options. Like,
what are you talking about? Why wouldn't you want good food options?
Eat at home. Eat at home.
Danny, you live a block away from the ballpark. I have to drive in. I don't want to bring a sandwich. I want to go to the ballpark and imagine if they had some sort of partnership had a partnership with Portillo's.
The food will never be good at Wrigley. Even if you had a Portillo's in there, it would be the worst Portillo's you ever had. The hot dogs is not that good. I've had it. I've had all the food at Wrigley, even the good food, quote unquote, for the podcast listeners, and it's not that good because
they had the chef's special. They had the chef's
table.
Well, Danny did a broadcast from a fucking bathroom stall. The food was so good.
Yeah.
There was
precisely.
the whatchamacallit. There was the chef's corner in right field. It used to be there was a diner that was there, and then they became the chef. They had different like actual professional
in
chefs
the
come
right
in.
field corner, which they
Yes.
did they replace that old like
Decades Diner.
yeah, which was
Yes.
a shame because it's the only place you could get air conditioning on a hot day. But
And Jack says chef series. Yeah, they had different chef series, and I had some phenomenal food in there. Really good.
stand in line, miss 3 innings, like eat
No,
some
you don't,
chef that you
really.
could eat the food of
Well,
that
dude,
very chef.
that's the whole
that
point
night
is
in,
that
like,
if you
2
only
hours,
have
like,
good
taking-
food in one tiny corner of the ballpark, then yes, you're going to miss 3 fucking innings.
Yeah.
But if I get in there at 5:30, then I can get some food.
That's what I'm saying. Or you could go to the man's actual restaurant where you can sit in a wonderful place and eat the food as it was intended. It's like when you go to Rib Fest. Okay, do I want to eat the ribs of the best rib place
But it's
out of a
fun.
truck that was cooked outside in the middle of summer with a bunch of sweaty people around? Or do I want to go to the person's restaurant and eat the ribs where they were intended with their actual oven that they know how to use? Or some
I love
oven.
I love how you're making this like where the ribs were intended to be.
Well, it is.
I love
Hey,
that
Jack
idea.
mentioned that Culliver's
shouldn't
is
eat at
coming,
Wrigley.
so it
It's
doesn't
wrong.
matter. I will go to Culliver's right outside of Wrigley to make Danny happy. I'll
Go
get
to
myself
real Culver's.
I'll go to a butter. It's right outside of Wrigley. It's right there. It's going to be right by Sports World, I think. And they're gonna and so
There
I'm
goes
going
the
to get
neighborhood.
I'm going to get a butter burger and some cheese curds and a cement mixer.
That's
Done.
that actually sounds fucking great.
I'm gonna
right
eat.
now.
I'm gonna
But,
eat nachos out of Ronnie Woo Woo shoe. So
going back-
you go la di da over there.
Yeah.
I will.
Going back just a touch, Artie asks related question: would you be in if all Chicago's teams had the same colors like they do in Pittsburgh? So you know, like in Pittsburgh, the Penguins, the Steelers, and the Pirates all have a yellow and black color scheme.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in seeing the Bulls, the Bears, the Cubs?
No, because then everybody looks the same all the goddamn time. It's way better to mix it up because then you're like, oh, I'm a Hawks fan today. I'm red and black, and you can wear all the different colors. You can wear all the different schemes. If you're a sports fan of all the teams, then you can mix it up. You got a diverse wardrobe. No, absolutely not. Pittsburgh people, they're just,
As my wardrobe is,
that's why they don't.
As my wardrobe is nothing but Cubs colors, literally monochromatic.
We got to get you into another team. Like, you like Tiddlywinks? Right now we're getting down to the. Well, actually, this is another serious baseball question. If you guys are up for it,
good. I'm ready. I'm ready.
And actually, Michael already weighed in. Chris on Twitter said, real question this time. I forget what the not real question was, but hypothetically, once the lockout ends, Padres call Jed and say, hey, if we eat a bunch of money, do you guys want Hosmer? Even throw in Caratini to sweeten the deal? Would Av solve the problem? Who's going to play first base? Would you do it? And Michael already, well, let me just finish the tweet here. Michael says, for who, though? The Padres need to get someone back. They aren't just sending players to the Cubs for nothing. So,
Yeah, I'll take Caratini back for nothing all day long.
But see, put the question back up. What they're trying to say is the Hosmer deal, and so there's a lot of things. Everyone knows that the Padres want to get rid of Hosmer, and so you would take Hosmer and Caratini. You would trade some nobody, but what you want are prospects. You want to take the money on of Hosmer, and the Padres still have a phenomenal farm system. So if you say we're going to take Hosmer for 2 years and whatever, and maybe you pay off some of the cash and you give us 3 prospects, we'll do that deal.
Well, I mean, you're looking at it. I'm looking at the Padres' top prospects. You got C.J. Abrams, shortstop, Luis Camposano, Robert Hassel, Mackenzie Gore, James Wood. These guys have been thrown out all over the place as like the best people you could possibly get, and also have already proven to be untouchable from the Padres. Because when we traded them Yu Darvish, we got a bunch of 17-year-olds. So the Padres, depends. Like, they were supposed to win it all this year. They built a team. They got Tatis on the cover of MLB The Show. They're going straight at it. And they didn't do it. In fact, they didn't
finished third.
Close. They finished third. So where are they in their desperation? is San Diego desperate for a championship? Seems to me San Diego's never desperate at all, like ever.
But you know how quick these windows, you know how quick those windows close. We saw it here. It doesn't take much for the wheels to fall off. So if you think that you can get the Cubs to eat that money, give up prospects, and then again, San Diego's not a big budget team like the Dodgers or the Cubs or other big major market teams. They may be willing to say, okay, and then take that money and invest it in some top tier free agent.
So, I mean, if you can get something that works for both teams done, where the Padres win now and the Cubs eat the money, but the problem with taking on the Hosmer money is even though you have room on your payroll, and as much as I don't care, that's kind of a yoke around the team at that point. And then you're like, oh, he plays first base and he kind of sucks. And like, the only thing I'll say about Eric Hosmer is this. I went out to a game in San Diego. Eric Hosmer ended up out in left field. And we were losing, Cubs were losing, and I was screaming at Hosmer all game about how he's a bum and like a terrible person and like, you know, his grandma committed war crimes and all sorts of things. And then, you know, Hosmer turned around and he gave me this with his mitt and he put it behind his back and he gave me the yap, yap, yap. And then he pointed to the scoreboard as the Padres beat the Cubs. So maybe he's got a little Wrigley in him. That's all.
But again, when we talk about a guy like Hosmer, it's again, when you give a guy a huge deal, if he was making Frank Schwindel money, no one would give a shit about Eric Hosmer. But he's not. He's making a shit ton of money. And that's what I get nervous about those big contracts, because as much as people don't want to talk about it, there are budgets that you're given. And if all of a sudden that guy's eating up a huge chunk of your budget and you can't get better because of that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, whatever.
Yeah, well,
Fuck
exactly.
Hosmer.
You're just.
We got another question.
Well, I'm looking up Hosmer's stats. He was worth one WAR.
Oh my God. I'll tell you what his stats are.
He's
the team wants to get rid of him.
He made one WAR. He was one WAR. What was Schwindel's WAR?
Hey, he batted .269 last year.
Hey, nice.
Hey, nice. See, there you go.
He actually had it. He had a good 2020.
I'm telling you, he's not. Again,
He's not
it's not that
bad.
he's a bad player. It's just that he's making an obscene amount of money, and you don't have the production.
Yeah, let's see how much money he's making. I'm gonna scroll down here. They keep that at the bottom at Baseball Reference. All right, so he can opt out of his contract though. Actually, check this out. So he's making $21 million next year, which is an obscene amount of money, of course. But then the next 3 years, he's making 13.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I mean,
60. So 60 million left.
So have the Dodgers take the last 13, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Throwing 13 million,
Padres.
throwing some prospects, or
no,
throwing 13 million because you said 13 the last two, right?
13
so throwing 13 million.
They've got him till he's 35. He plays first base, which, you know, he was on those championship Royal. He was on that championship Royals team. That's how he got the contract in the first place, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so John Pincus said he knows how to get me angry. And Guy Sears, I know is not doing this on purpose. I'm going to put this one. I'm going to tattoo this, I think, pretty soon on my chest. No one was ever going to take Hayward in any package, any way, any shape, any form. Never was going to happen.
So Guy Sears' question is, put it back up real quick. Hayward takes a lot of budget. Somehow we traded everyone, but kept him. Made him part of the package. But yeah, you could have, but you would have to eat the money. And that's the question. They obviously value him as a human being over, they're going to pay him. They're going to pay him anyway. So might as well keep him around. If he was a total dick face, they'd have been like, bye. Like the Zambrano for Carlos Silva trade or whatever the fuck that. Remember that one?
Chris Volstad.
or the
Volstad,
Nolan,
the
Nolan Arenado trade.
Well,
hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, right?
That was more like the Cardinals have devil magic. Phoenix Night Flame says, if you look at the numbers, Hosmer and Rizzo had very similar years in 2021, aside from the slug. Yeah, but how about Frank Schwindel though? He's got fucking double guns.
Right.
Like
that's all I'm saying is what drives people nuts is when If you're the biggest,
That's the
highest
new
paid guy on the
complicated shirt.
team, you
Double
have to be
guns.
the one that carries the team. You have to be the one that hits the clutch home run every single time. When you're getting paid that much, the expectations are through the roof. And obviously, Hosmer is just a mediocre player at best, and he's taken up a huge part of their budget.
Yeah. And so if the Cubs would eat that, now I remember the days when the Cubs had a lot of room on their payroll and they would just be like, oh, $5 million for a reliever. Sure. We'll take him. We'll take him. We'll take him. And they would just get everybody. But I think that ship has sailed, but now maybe it can start sailing again. You'd be like, all right, you pay $5 million. We'll do 15 and we'll find a deal. And then he's cheap at the end. I don't know. Maybe you do it. More questions. My Tai guy, or no, Seth Kennedy writes in, would you at Sun Ranto and Crawly's Cubs rather fight one Mai Tai guy sized duck, one Mai Tai guy sized duck, or 100 duck sized Mai Tai guys?
Wow, that's a mouthful.
And
yeah,
then,
Mai Tai guy actually responded to that and
it said, got to take the second option, right? A 6-foot duck sounds like more trouble. Running up duck emoji and then emoji, the scream.
I'm gonna go disagree. I'm taking on the 6-foot duck.
You're taking on the 6-foot duck?
100%. I think one 6-foot duck is in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, but you ever seen this
100 duck-sized Mai Tais? Come on.
Well, that's just weird. But Crawly,
I would feel bad about kicking little Mai Tais all over the place.
Crawly, what do you say? Would you take?
I'm going to go with Mai Tai knows trouble, so I'm going to go with what he says. I'm going to go with Mai Tai because Mai Tai knows trouble, and I'm going to go with the second option because you've seen the size of ducks. You could just kick them pretty easy.
Yeah, you can kick them pretty easy, or you could just
don't they
roll
look like
baseballs
Mai
around.
Tai?
They're baseball.
Right, but are they coming after me?
They're duck-sized Mai Tais.
I think that's implied in the
or a Mai Tai-sized duck. And I want to punch a duck. I don't want to punch Mai Tai.
Okay.
Yeah, well, other people do, but that's not my guy.
That's been proven over and over and over again.
Usually they're called Uber drivers.
Yeah. Or random guy on the street, or the dude that was sitting at the bar. So that I think is the last of the questions. I do have one announcement. It's that Wrigley Field's got bumper cars. So I went by there today. If you want to, we should do this, guys. I really think that we should go down there on like some terrible cold day in January and get on the bumper cars. Like you see them there. They look more like bumper boats. Like it's what bumper boats look like. They're like all multicolored, but hey, it's better than ice skating, in my opinion. Ice skating, you got to actually.
So, Danny, I'm saying we get teams. One team's on ice skates, one team's on bumper cars.
And we fight?
Yeah. Like the bumper cars are trying to like take out the ice skaters, and then we flip-flop teams.
Well, I'm on the giant Mai Tai guy duck team.
I am going to say to myself that I do like ice skating, but you have to do that sober. I learned that the hard way. But the bumper cars looks like it would be better with a little bit of alcohol involved.
I wonder if they make you sign a waiver. They've got to.
Oh yeah,
they have to.
You sign. I've been skating out there. You got to sign waivers for everything.
So we never got to story time with Crawly. Should we save it, or do you want to go through it?
Let's roll it.
Quick?
We can roll it.
You want to roll it? All right. Well,
roll
then
it.
I got to play it. Well, I got to play the theme song. Then.
That means I'm going to get another beer, and I'm going to be
play the theme song. Let's go.
All right. Yeah. I got to look for it. It's been a while since we did story time.
Probably one of the top 5-6 ones.
All right. Here it goes.
Story time with Crawly, with Crawly, with Crawly. Story time with Crawly. It's Crawly story time.
Wait, did you remix that?
No, it's the same one we always used.
Oh,
you've changed.
So, for those of you that don't know, this is a tough weekend for me. This is year number 2 without Cubs convention. And if you know me, Cubs convention is my favorite weekend of the year, better than my birthday, better than Christmas, 4th of July, everything. So I, every year, would go and get excited and make signs and drink beers. Here's Danny and I don't remember what year that is. Was that 16? Does it say 2016?
Well, let me tell by the John Baker Day shirt. I'm wearing the dark blue one, which I believe was 17. So that might have been 17 going into
Looks like
18.
16 in the back. I don't know. Maybe it's
My
18.
hair's kind of long. I don't know.
But I always get in the front row. I'm screaming and yelling. I'm looking around, all fun, play some bingo, and, eat some good pizza, which they don't have at Wrigley Field. So you can get this good pizza right here, and all of it is a lot of fun. But the one thing I started doing a long time ago is all these people would ask stupid questions. And so I said to myself, I was running a blog at the time. This is like 2005. This is a long time ago. I said to myself, what if I posed as a reporter and started to ask some serious fucking questions? Like they're waiting for the question like, what would you do if you didn't play baseball? And I would go up there and be like, Addison Russell was accused of domestic abuse. How does it feel to have, I would seriously just give him a question to kind of see, to get some sort of response. And so I would go up all the time and get in line, first in line, ask my question and see how it would go. So if you remember, if you remember in 2008, Cubs had the best record in baseball, right? They had a disappointing 2007. They snuck into the playoffs like in the last week of the season, I want to say. And it was disappointing. But 2008, that team just had gold. They were on fire. They were ready to go. And they get into the playoffs, and they're going to face the Dodgers. And before the game starts, Lou Piniella is the coach, and for 2 years, Lou Piniella's going, there's no such thing as curses. I don't believe in, like every manager up to that point. I don't believe in curses. There's no curses. I don't know what you're talking about, you damn Chicago people. Crazy. He's bitching about it. What do they do before the first home game in 2008, the first playoff game? They bring a Greek Orthodox priest out of the dugout to give blessings. So basically everything that they've been trying to pitch, that there's no curse, this and that, is totally fucked because, you did this. Now I'm trying to figure out, I'm pissed off about it because I've been saying the same thing, no curse. And then they fucking pulled this shit. You know what I mean? It's like so meatball. So I'm pissed. And so I want to know, I have two questions in this. This is on my YouTube channel. There are two questions here, and both of them are phenomenal questions. And this is the 2009 Cubs convention. So I will play you my video, and these are my questions to Crane Kenny and to Jim Hendry. And at the time, as usual, they always had Randy Bush there to kind of sit there. I don't
Randy
really
Bush.
Yeah, here we go.
That is literally my porn name, Randy Bush. You got to make it full screen. There you go.
Yeah. First off, I want to say thank you guys for making the tough decisions that may have been unpopular. I am hungover here. Towards the goal of winning a World Series. I appreciate that.
Shocker.
I got a question.
Oh, no.
For Randy and Jim, and then one for Crane. What was the decision to get Bradley as far as over Ibanez or over, say, Bobby Abreu? What was the thought process that went on there? Crane, for you, quick question. You're a very smart man. You didn't get to where you were by not being smart. You also talked about not believing in curses. Yet the Greek Orthodox priest comes out of there, and that was kind of embarrassing, I think, on a national scale.
Butter him up, tear him down.
I know that I don't think you would have done that on your own. I know a documentary was being shot last year. And were the producers, did they ask anything as far as, would you do this, or would this be great for the documentary, or anything to that? So I'll let you guys answer.
Let me do that.
So let me just pause it right here. So there's two questions that I have. Number one, the Cubs were very much in need of a left-handed bat, and they went with Milton Bradley, where I felt that Raul Ibanez or Bobby Abreu would have been the better choice. We all know how that turned out. But in 2008, that was the centennial year, and there was a documentary being filmed the whole year. So in my mind, no one could be that stupid to feed into this Billy Goat nonsense in the organization. I know how much Lou Piniella hated to fucking answer those questions. So I'm trying to figure out, why in the hell would anyone do this? So here's Crane's response.
One first. So that's one of the dumber things we've done, right? And in my 6 years of decisions, that's probably maybe 2 or 3 of the dumb things we've done. And no, it had nothing to do with the documentary. It wasn't somebody saying, well, let's try and do something spicy. This was along the lines of making decisions quickly.
Do something spicy.
An email.
Like bring in a Greek. He's got a weird freaking notion of what spicy is.
Has the cell phone ringing with the Cubs tune on it. And
I don't know. Greek food can be spicy.
Let him go.
It could be, but not Greek Orthodox priests.
Was at my desk. Nobody had any influence on that one. And I said, let him in. He wanted to say a blessing for our good health, which we had good health, but but the results made us sick. So no, it was nothing more than let's let one of our fans in, and he wanted to come in 6 hours before the game and just hopefully give us some good health. And I said, fine. If I could do it again, I wouldn't have. No question about it. But it had nothing to do with. It got blown into a bunch of different things, and it's it's one of those things you look back on and say, how did you make that decision? Clearly not one of my best in the last 6 years.
So that is his answer. And I don't know if you heard it, but one of the things he was saying was basically there's a big a fan. This priest is a big Cub fan. He really just wants to say a prayer, and he couldn't see the harm in that. But that just didn't really jive with a lot of people. So Paul Sullivan leaves where we are speaking, right? There's this he leaves that session. And guess what he does? He tracks down the Greek Orthodox priest. And he says, so here's the story. You supposedly wanted to say a blessing for the Cubs? And the guy's like, no. They asked me to come out and do it.
There's nothing better than a lie that can be so easily disproven by just simply asking the person involved.
So here is the headline.
Yeah.
Dugout priest ready to curse Kenny. So cheers on that one. But he literally the priest was like, what the fuck? Why would you throw me in the middle of this? I didn't want it. You guys invited me.
Now he's throwing him under the bus.
Now he's throwing him under the bus. And the only thing
he wears that giant black hat with the cardboard on the side because
right. The only thing that bothers me though is Paul Sullivan writes the article up. And at this point, I had been drinking for years with Paul Sullivan at Kitty O'Shea's and different Cubs cons and all this shit. This is back when it was at the Hilton. So, he actually said the priest accused Chairman Crane Kenny of throwing him under the bus at last weekend's Cubs convention. When a fan asked about the ritual, Kenny took a blame, calling it one of the dumbest things he had done. Paul, buddy, we shared beers. I've helped you pick up women. Don't call me a fan. You could have called me out by name. Bruce Miles, years later, when we were at CubsCon and I broke the story that the Ricketts weren't doing their family session, he at least had the decency to throw my name in the article. Come on, Paul. Disappointed at that one. And that's my story. My CubsCon story.
I feel like we need to play the theme song again, right? Like, doesn't it seem like that needs a button, as they say in the biz?
Let's give it a button.
All right, I'm going to give it a button. Where is it? Oh, here it is.
Story time with Crawly. Story time with Crawly, with Crawly, with Crawly. Story time with Crawly. It's Crawly story time.
We really have to do this bit more. We have to do this bit more. It's a great bit. You've got a lot to say. You've got a lot of stories from the past, and I enjoy them.
I have to say though, Crawly, I 100% believed in that curse. I think that's what kept them from. I think they were cursed. And I think that the curse was on Wrigley Field, but by the time 2016 rolled around, they had changed so much of Wrigley Field. It really wasn't Wrigley Field anymore. All the cursed boards had been taken out of that place.
I'm just telling you that, and that was a good 2-part question because I also was, I knew they needed a left-handed bat, and you had 2 great options in Ibanez and Abreu, and then you had Milton Bradley, who was coming in from Texas. He came off.
I like how you're like, just stick with me through this curse question, and I'll get to the left-handed bat.
Well, no.
I agree with you on Ibanez, though. I wanted Ibanez too. We didn't even know each other then, Crawly. We had no idea that there was a Danny or a Crawly, like none of it. And I wanted Ibanez too from afar.
Right, you were in New York probably at that time in 2008 or something.
I was watching Ibanez. He was with the Phillies.
Yeah, and he was a great player, and Bobby Abreu was too. And you had 3 choices in left-handed bats, and the problem with Milton Bradley, which everybody knew, was the dude was a nutcase. But if you're playing for the Rangers and they weren't doing good, and he was kind of a lunatic, but they didn't have the pressure cooker, I'm like, how's Milton Bradley going to handle fucking the Wrigley crowds and the media? And I knew it was going to be trouble.
Yeah, what was weird was Crane also blamed the Greek Orthodox priest on that choice as well. Like he was like, this, I mean, he came in, he blessed the fucking place, and he told me, hey, Milton Bradley.
It's funny because he's always taking it on the chin in this organization, I tell you.
Abreu, or I'm sorry, it was classic because you had Crane lying about it, which made all the papers. And then you had it was Jim Hendry who kept talking about, well, we went out to dinner with Milton Bradley, and I can't tell you what a great dinner it was and how much we had fun talking to Milton Bradley. And it was like this whole thing is like, dude, you had a dinner with him? Did you have one with Ibanez or a Bray? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like he mentally was not strong enough to play at Wrigley. Everybody knew that.
He was literally dying. Like Jim Hendry was like 2 steps away from a heart attack at that point. Remember, he signed Ted Lilly on his deathbed.
Yeah. In the hospital bed, he signed Ted Lilly.
So, like, I don't know what was going on then. There were a lot of bad decisions. There's the history to tell. You can go through all the years and be like, that shouldn't have happened. That should have happened. That shouldn't have happened. That should have happened. But like, at least we had Jon Lester for that short time to come full circle, put a button on it, and get to our TFCs. I do have some announcements.
Real quick, Artie Boucher says, obviously they didn't go to dinner at Wrigley. They took Danny's advice.
Yeah, the food is terrible. You don't want to eat there. No food at Wrigley.
Damn it.
So we are still planning on a G-Man Tavern show on opening day on April 4th, if you want to come. But I'm guessing we do something around then. That's what I'm guessing. Like, we're going to do a show either way at that time, just because I want to be with you all and play Cubs music for everybody and have a party, even if MLB can't get their shit together. Michael just left. He's like, yeah, I don't want to be with you all.
All I know is if you need my help moving my car, you better help me find it in the morning. That's a different story time.
Story time. That's a different show, maybe. That's a completely different show. That's the worst thing I ever did while drunk. Which is a good show, which is maybe a better show than this one. Maybe we'll get a different background. It'll be fine. Anyway, I hope to see everybody soon. We're not gonna do this show again until I guess next week. We're not going to have a green room tonight because we just went this way. We just had a 2-hour show on in our regular Talking Cubs way. And I think Michael Cotton's being told that his house is on fire right now. he's off air. Michael, is your house on fire?
I'm in the middle of completing a COVID test. I'm literally doing a COVID test in the middle of this.
Ooh, live results.
Live results.
No. I'm
Stay
just
tuned,
spitting. I'm spitting in a tube to send it out.
That's content, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why aren't we just like having COVID result shows?
No, because it's not COVID result. It's me spitting into the tube, and we got to send it off.
Why isn't everybody broadcasting the moment that they take the test? I guess they are, right? People are doing this, right? Sure. Everybody's taking tests all the time, right? I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, but I mean, there's our new TikTok
today,
video.
and I didn't broadcast it. I broadcast I'm like telling the weather on Twitter.
Yeah,
but I didn't broadcast my COVID test today.
Oh my God, we should
we
should have been doing this.
Yeah,
TikTok
this whole time. And instead, you went off. You went off the screen, disrupted our show to spit in a cup so you could take a cup.
No. To be fair, I was spitting in the cup during Crawly's.
I was passing the time during that dumbass story. All right.
Yeah, and
That's
now
terrible.
Emily is right here next to me, and she's trying to fill out the Test Iowa thing. So, by the way, if anybody in the Iowa City area is wanting to do this at the library, go to the library, get the test, you spit in a cup, take it to the place in Coralville and drop it off. We have had it is actually taken we get it done in like a day. Like they let us know the same day a lot of times. So
well, that's Iowa.
TFC time.
Yeah. I got nothing because no, maybe I do have something. So somebody else go first.
Oh, yeah, I have one too.
All right, let's go with this Lester TFC by Funky Cold Luda, a.k.a. Luis Medina, friend of the show. Yeah. Jon Lester played for half a season for the Cardinals. Was like, I'd rather not play baseball again than be back with that team. Respect.
Yeah, 100%. That was the headline. Nobody was picking up on 2 months. That was it. Done with baseball. All right. So I've got this one here. Cardinal legend Jon Lester. from
Brutal.
the game day MLB, and and that's where you get that response. Like, no, the Cardinals are what drove him out of baseball.
Well, I'm just gonna put up this picture. Which was sent to me by Son Ranto, great Hall of Fame legend Lyle Aker, who was on this show for forever. And
that's not Lyle, by the way. If
that is not Lyle. But it is a picture
know.
of a guy, and like you can definitely like date this photo to a tuxedo with no coat in the 90s. And the front looks just about right. It looks like a guy who's either going to a prom or a wedding or a but the back of him looks like Rocky Horror Picture Show. He's got a thong and women's underwear and pantyhose and anyway, Lyle sent this to me and he said to me, he goes, tell everybody this is Tom Ricketts. It'll be funny. and it was. I did tell everybody. I'm like, so hilarious sources say this is Tom Ricketts, and hilarious sources did because did kind of look like him. So
I got one more.
Oh, sweet.
Ryan Thibodeau, like I said, I follow the Hall of Fame tracker crazy. Ballot 154 is from Dan Shaughnessy. For the second consecutive year, he submits a Jeff Kent only ballot. He is the only writer from the Boston Globe to not vote for David Ortiz. And then he goes into the reveal of their votes. And Locked Out Musa said, the only time a Jeff Kent only ballot made sense was the episode he got voted off of Survivor. And this just kind of wraps up my fuck the Hall of Fame voters.
Yeah, it's got to change.
Who the fuck has a Jeff Kent only ballot?
Wait, I think Michael might be getting a positive test.
I like what Guy Sirius says when Guy Sirius says, you are the father.
Seriously, dude, that would be so much. I mean, that's basically the show. I mean, it's already been done except for paternity test. Do we have paternity test on Son Ranto if the strike continues?
Oh my God.
No, just COVID test. I'm taking all my COVID tests live from now on. I'm going live for every COVID test.
I was actually normally in the last few months, we have done the show and then I have to actually leave where I'm at now in the garage and go in to the house to get on my iPad to do the green room. And I was just going to do all that stuff in between.
Great story, bro.
And unfortunately, we've been on the show for 2 hours now, and my wife just came in, and
my wife,
she's not overly happy with me at the moment. So
well, that makes three of us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what happens. Like she's and she's pissed off at me because I didn't come in, which sure, that's I get it. Yeah, but then I'm also ignoring the show at the same time.
And you're drunk, and you're not.
This is how you do it, people. This is the downward spiral of a life.
You're watching it live, and you may ask yourself, where did I get this beautiful automobile?
On a day
Good times, fellas. Good times. Cubs talk and a strike and a pandemic. You know, hey, you can never say the Son Ranto show wasn't here for you, though. You really can't.
You know what? Every other show is doing dumb shit like, hey, let's bring on some some prospect, and the prospect's like, I just play 100% and I give it all I can every day and blah blah blah. This is boring as shit. You come here and you get COVID test, divorce.
Well, don't get divorced. I think you should get off the show. Like, even if we do, Crawly's yawning, you're getting divorced.
She's gone.
I'm hungry.
She's gone now. I'm good for another hour.
She's gone forever. Go run after her. What's wrong with you? That's the only woman that'll ever love you.
You just hear this tire screeching in the dust in the driveway.
Dust in the wind. Seriously, we could actually get better ratings. So maybe I should encourage you to stay on or at least go on your phone.
While Jeff Berta, best show going by far.
Now we'll keep some things sacred, I guess.
Tune in for the Cubs. Stay for the COVID.
All right, next week, everybody save up your COVID test. Well, I'll do them live on air. Let me know if you're gonna get COVID tested, because I'll bring you in and give you an invite to the broadcast, because I don't think we'll have baseball news except for what we make up in our lives.
Green room next. Green room next week.
No, we gotta go live. I want to see the look on somebody's face when they test negative or positive.
And we want to judge the color of your spit. If you've got weird colored spit coming into that vial, I don't know. We need to make judgments about your life.
Now you weirded everybody out. We got to end the show before we get canceled. All right. I guess Spagog. That's how we end the show, right? And then I got 2 songs to come. I got Jon Lester songs up the wazoo. So here's 2 of them. So Spagog.
Lesterday, the World Series seems so far away. Now I can't wait for opening day. 2015 starts Lesterday. Suddenly, the Cubs have an ace who's a lefty. Can't wait to watch him pitch at Wrigley. Jon Lester is a Cubby. Thank you to Theo, 'cause you got Jon Lester paid. We'll remember you when the Cubs go all the way. Lesterday, we told MLB we came to play. Plus we stole Joe Madden from the Rays. And last year we ripped off the A's. Cubs are spending Joe Montero behind the plate. It's been 6 long years since the playoffs in 08. Lesterday, the Cubs could be in a pennant race. The damn Cardinals in second place. Oh, I believe in Lesterday. Lesterday.
Okay, it was pointed out in the chat. So we're back real quick. We're back. Crawly, you want to come back for this? Yeah, right. He's back.
We forgot the chance for chance.
We forgot that I'm going to give away the chance for chance. So if you're just tuning in, I'm giving away a postcard written by me of Frank Chance. You can see it up in my little square there. And it's Frank Chance batting. I bought this today, and I will write you a postcard on the other side if you win. So just type into the chat #Chance. You have just a couple more seconds to.
Not only that, if you win, Michael will send you the Dear John letter that his wife left as she walked away from
along with the positive COVID test.
Michael, I will send you all the Frank Chance postcards if your wife did leave you tonight, and then everything else is going to be written by you from now on, because I'm sure you're going to write a lot more sad things than me. So,
Danny, I have to say, it's been a long time since I've listened to Lesterday. It holds up. It's actually the perfect song for right now. Like the whole theme of the song and everything, I think it works just as well welcoming him in as letting him go. Like that was good.
That's why next week on the show, we're going to have why Danny Rocket is the greatest artist of our time.
Not all of your songs hold up. Like,
We won't
you
talk
know,
about those on
that
that
whole
show.
song about how much you like Addison Russell. That didn't hold
No,
up.
that's
but-
not coming on, except for the Nacho song. That get Nacho Man. That Addison Russell. I'm so sad that anyway. Go to the Danny Rocket archives. There's some. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both. There you have. All right, but here we got. All right, I'm gonna do the chance for a chance. There are 15 entries in the game right now. Whoever wins is the greatest person that ever lived. Okay, here, let the wheel spin. Who shall win? And we get down to Jerry Zanutig, who's a goalie, who's actually a goalie for the Montreal Canadiens, I think. Is that
Jerry
their logo?
Zanutig backwards is Getunez.
it really is. And Danny, I'm a little bit afraid that you might have to put extra postage on that to get it out of the country.
I guess so. Well, I don't know Jerry, but I'm excited to write him. I'm excited to meet him, and I'm going to write him a postcard letter. So we were already done with the show, but now we're really done with the show, and I'll play one more song.
This is like an MCU post credits bullshit right here.
The deep cuts of the Sun Rancher
Dude,
show.
I was 2 seconds away from slamming my laptop shut.
I know Crawly was gone, came back to shut his laptop. He's like, "Oh shit, we're still doing this."
What am I missing? Did we trade for Correa? Trade. So here's Lester always flips it underhand. Spagog again. Everyone's always bitching. He can't field while he's pitching. But it could be worse when he throws the first. Lester always flips it underhand. Every time that he throws it, no one knows where it's going. Ball stuck in his grip, but John's got the yips. Lester always flips it underhand. When the batters try their hand at bunting, John has trouble getting off the mound. But Anthony knows a bad throw's coming. But sometimes John launches it in the crowd. The runner, he'll retire if his throws aren't on fire. Ball stuck in the mitt, Rizzo does the splits. Lester always flips it underhand. Lester always flips it underhand. Bye, John.